You know that feeling when you're at the gas pump or the grocery store and you just watch the numbers climb? Well, what if I told you that pinch you're feeling in your wallet is directly connected to a much, much bigger story? One that starts in the coldest, most remote places on Earth. In this explainer, we're going to connect those dots, from your budget all the way to the world's melting ice. Okay, so take a look at this chart. It lays out a pattern that's probably become painfully familiar. See those peaks? Around 2008, 2011, and then bam, again in 2022. Each one of those is a global crisis where the price of everything, the food we eat, the fuel to get it to us, and the fertilizer to grow it, all just skyrocketed together. This isn't just random bad luck. It's a recurring shock to our whole global system. So that's the big question, right? Why does this keep happening over and over again? It's really easy to point fingers at one single event, a war, a pandemic, a bad harvest. But when you see a pattern repeating like this, it suggests there's something much deeper going on, something the headlines usually miss. And the answer is, we're living in a world of chronic crisis. You see, those price spikes, they aren't the disease itself, they're the symptom. The real story is about this hidden, fragile network that connects our most basic needs, our water, our energy, and our food. And when you lay it out on a timeline like this, the pattern becomes just undeniable. These aren't just one-off incidents. Nope. They're becoming a chronic part of our global economy, and they're happening with, frankly, alarming frequency. And every single time, millions of people get pushed into food insecurity and entire economies get destabilized. You know, there's actually a framework that helps us get our heads around why this keeps happening. It's called the Water Energy Food Nexus, and the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. You just can't touch one of these systems without affecting the others. You need energy to pump water and make fertilizer. You need water to grow food and generate power. It's this incredibly tightly woven web. And here it is. Here's the big reveal. The hidden force that's shaking this entire web, the root cause that links everything together, is the melting of the cryosphere. Now, that's just the fancy scientific term for all the frozen parts of our planet, the ice sheets, the glaciers, the sea ice, all of it. The stability of our water, our food, and our energy is fundamentally tied to the stability of all that ice. So where are we heading? Let's walk through 3 possible futures, okay? We'll start with Path A. And this isn't some crazy worst-case scenario. This is the future we are actively choosing right now, based on the climate promises that countries have already made. If we just stick to the path we're on track for a 2.3 degrees Celsius rise in global temperature by 2100. That number might not sound huge, but it is well beyond the Paris Agreement goal, and it pushes us straight past some critical, irreversible tipping points. And at 2.3 degrees, wow, the consequences for all that ice are just staggering. We don't just get a warmer world, we lock in changes that we can never undo. We're talking about eventually losing most of the glaciers in the mid-latitudes and about half of the ice in high mountain Asia. You know, people call that region the water tower for billions of people. That's a direct hit to the water and food nexus. And get this, the amount of sea level rise we'd eventually lock in on this path it's almost hard to comprehend. Over 10 meters. That is more than 32 feet. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, but this path makes it inevitable over the coming centuries. And that threatens about 75% of the world's biggest cities, which are, you guessed it, on the coast. And listen, this isn't some far-off academic problem for our great-grandkids. It's happening right now. Just take Hurricane Sandy back in 2012. A study found that an incredible $8.1 billion of the damage from that one storm was a direct result of the sea level rise that has already happened. We're already paying the bill in billions of dollars for melting ice. But what if we don't even meet our current kind of inadequate promises? Well, Path B shows us the future that gets unleashed if emissions just keep going at today's pace. This is the future of doing nothing. In this scenario, we just blow right past 2.3 degrees and head towards 3 degrees of warming, maybe even more by the end of the century. We're talking about a fundamentally different planet at that point. The report itself, it doesn't pull any punches. It says the damage will be extreme. But the really crucial phrase there is well beyond limits of adaptation. What that means is there will be crises that we simply cannot prepare for, that we can't engineer our way out of, that we can't recover from. And the specifics are honestly terrifying. Sea level rise could hit 15 meters. That's almost 50 feet. Entire mountain regions, the water sources for huge populations, could face what the report calls non-survivable conditions. And the thawing permafrost, it becomes this massive new source of emissions, creating a feedback loop that just makes the warming happen even faster. Okay, but there is another way. Path C. Now let's be clear, this is the difficult path. It's the future where we take immediate, rapid, drastic action to meet that ambitious goal from the Paris Agreement. It is absolutely not easy, but it is our fighting chance. The goal is to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And you have to understand, every single fraction of a degree matters here. Holding the line at 1.5, as incredibly challenging as it is, fundamentally changes what our future looks like. Now let's be super clear about this. A 1.5-degree world is not a world without any damage. The ice will still melt, the seas will still rise, but, and this is the crucial part, the rate of that change slows way, way down. And that gives us a chance. It makes adaptation feasible. It turns an unstoppable catastrophe into a challenge that, while still immense, is one we can actually manage. The benefits are real, and they are life-saving. Instead of losing half the ice in Asia's water towers, we could preserve up to 2/3 of it. I mean, that is a future-defining difference for the water and food security of billions of people. The speed of sea level rise slows, and that buys our coastal communities precious time to prepare.
And in all of this, there is this small but really powerful glimmer of hope. The report mentions that on this path, as temperatures eventually stabilize and maybe even slowly decline, some glaciers might actually start to show signs of very slow regrowth, centuries from now. It would be one of the very first visible signs of the planet beginning to restore itself.
So this brings us to it, our inescapable choice. We've seen how price shocks are just symptoms of this stressed-out water-energy food system and how that whole system is being destabilized by melting ice. The path we choose from here on out will determine the future of all of it. What these recurring crises really show us is that our biggest challenge isn't just emissions or water policy or agriculture. It's silo thinking. It's trying to solve these massive problems in isolation from each other. The only way forward is to manage water, energy, food, and the climate as the single interconnected whole that it is. And in the end, it really all comes down to this one powerful, unarguable statement from the Cryosphere Report. We can negotiate policies, we can negotiate with economies and with politics, but we cannot negotiate with physics. The melting point of ice is a fixed reality, and our entire interconnected world is now being forced to reckon with it.